What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Joe Gorchie here from JG Music, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Dua Lipa type beat. What you're looking at now is a type beat I made for my type beat channel, Joe Gorchie Beats, which is link in the description if you want to check that out after the video, by the way. But I'm going to show you, go through the process of how I made about decision making for the production, how I structured the song, and how I got this general Dua Lipa feel, and also some songs that I referenced to create this. So let's jump straight into it. And by the way, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel and if you enjoy these sorts of videos. Got a Charlie Puth one which I did the other week, which I'll leave the link in the description below as well if you want to watch that after. And there's gonna be many more of these, but anyway, today Dua Lipa. So this is how I started it. The first thing that I want to do is pick a song for reference. Whenever you're making an artist type song, artist type beat, always pick one song to reference against, because it's so much easier than just trying to go for a general vibe, because artists, they do mix up their sound a little bit, or they present different ideas in songs. So you gotta have a very specific idea and niche what it is that you're trying to do. So you may be aware of the song Love Again by Dua Lipa. I wanted to create something based off of that. Now, I'm not saying that this beat is going to sound exactly like it now, but I used it as sort of a model to sort of present some early ideas of what I could do. So the thing that I built this song around was the bass line, and I'm going to be honest, I went on to Splice for this bass line. I think Splice is a very good tool, and I've done a whole video on that as well, talking about Splice. But for those of you who have Splice, you'll know how handy it could be, and I wanted to find a bass line just to build the song around, and this is the bass line that I found. I wanted it to be funky and really start to create a groove. So here it is. I liked it because it felt really raw, but it had a really nice low end to it, and I feel like there wasn't much mixing that needed to be done to it. So yeah, that was the first thing I did. I got the bass line, and you see it's very repetitive. Like a lot of pop songs nowadays, there's certain elements of melody in the song which are repeated, and I wanted the bass line to be a recurring feature of this Dua Lipa song. Next is the kick, and you really want to like sort of create like a dance pop or disco pop sort of song. So 4 on the floor. So this is the kick that I put in. And I thought, let's add a snare on every second and fourth beat. Or, I don't know if it's second or third. I don't know why I said that. But yeah, you get the idea. Again, we want to create the simple drum beat, so we want the hi-hats to be really sort of like a driving force in keeping the energy up in the song. So I used a mixture of a closed and just an open hi-hat right at the end, just as a little fill, so the drum beat's not too repetitive every time. So this is what came out from the drum beat. And as you can see, it's really starting to already sound like maybe like a verse for a Dua Lipa song. And that's exactly what I did. We'll listen to the verse in a second. This is basically what the verse is. But there is also one element that I've added that I'll get to. But firstly, like I'll just get to all my little crashes and rises I do. For anyone who's production, elevating your productions, one of the best ways to do that is using rises, because it's just such a good way to create transitions between sections and make it more interesting. And also make other sections pop more. So this is the sort of rises I've got in. I've got white noise descending, as well as some crashes which are rising as well as descending as well. So if we just play it from what, this is the pre-chorus, but you'll get the idea. And then there's a cut just before the chorus, and you can just feel how that hits so much more. If I take these out and I play that exact same section, you'll notice such a difference. Like there's so much less energy about this. See, it just doesn't hit the same. So again, always have rises in, and that's the rise that I had. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is, this is kind of a lot more on the Charlie Puth influence side, but I wanted to add some muted guitar in to sort of accompany the beat. One thing that I think works really well is a counter melody from electric guitar when you've got a bass line also doing a very sort of like catchy melody to the song. If you have that counter melody in there, like when you have the bass and this muted guitar together, it sounds great. So electric guitar here, which again is the electric vintage, which I use in a lot of productions. Again, very simple, but you can just slightly off the rhythm, so you feel like it's really just keeping like the bass going as a driving force. So we put it all together. All of a sudden, you've got this really funky beat starting to come together. And this is just drums, electric guitar, and bass. Really feeling it. Now, one thing I did as well, like as you can see, I've very cheated with the guitar here and done all MIDI, but I just think it sounds great in Contact Laser Vintage. I added one more just doing the guitar chords, legato, just to sort of back up the guitar a bit more and also add a little bit more of that ambience. So you can hear there. Kind of got influenced by Bad Habits Ed Sheeran for this, but I feel like this will add to the Dua Lipa vibe. So put that all together, we've got the building of a good chorus. Okay. Now, one of the next things you need to get in is that real sort of retro, sort of 80s disco feel. And you're going to achieve that through the pads. You've got to have major focus on the pads for a Dua Lipa song. You want that warmth. You want that sort of saturated 80s pop music feel, which Dua Lipa songs get across so well. So we're just going to unmute everyone. We're going to go just to the pads here. Now, again, one thing that I always advise you to do is stack any sort of instrumentation at all, because you're going to be able to shape and create your own sounds a lot easier than that. There are three things which make up the pads. I've got the dark background, dark swell pad from the retro synths, and I've got this also untitled, which is strings, which we're going to leave the strings out for a minute because I'm going to show you where the sort of influence for Love Again comes into this Dua Lipa song. But if we're just listening to the pads for now, which are grouped into a stack track so I can mix them together, this is what it sounds like. Now, there's something really cool going on here, which is a cool production technique, which you can learn right now, and that is the vocal compressor sidechaining. Now, I've sidechained this pad with the kick, so you hear that throbbing. That is basically the kick triggering the compressor, which is fluctuating the level of the pad. If I took the compressor out and turned it off, it would just be a straight, consistent chord. But with the sidechain compressor in, you can see it getting to work. Now, anyone who's a mixing and mastering, to say, well, that's clipping. You don't need a compressor to be clipping, because you can hear that there's a little bit of distortion coming there. But I actually kept it in because I think it actually sounded quite nice, and it added a little bit of that sort of saturation I'm talking about, a little bit of distortion to make it feel a little bit more back in like sort of the 80s. So yeah, I kept it in. It was a creative decision to keep it in. So if we play the pads now, bar these last elements here, you're going to start to get a really good idea of the production we're building here, which, by the way, I'm building around the chorus. This is the chorus you're listening to. So the last thing that I wanted to add in is strings. God, like the start of the Dua Lipa song where it goes da, 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 da. I thought that was really cool, and the way that Dua Lipa does incorporate strings into her songs, like they sound really epic, but they fit in so well, and they create such a sort of like atmosphere in the songs, and like really adds to the energy. So I'm just going to quickly play you again. These are all MIDI'd in. I actually do play the violin, fun fact, but not this time. So I'm just gonna quickly just mute everything again. Solo, this, and this. So there's 3 different string ideas going on here. The first one's sort of more of a company of the pads, which is why I put it in the pads track stack. And it's going with a lot of reverb on, like an insane amount of reverb, sort of trying to make it more like a pad, make it sound more like synth strings. It isn't synth strings, it is the Hollywood strings, I believe, in Omnisphere, which is really good strings. Like, they're so easy to put in and they don't require much mixing. They do come in a bit hot though. The next string we got is the actual hook melody, which I recorded in. Like, I feel like there's one more melody which sort of influenced from the intro of Love Again by Dua Lipa, and this is it. Sorry, that is not the melody. But again, that's just another layer of strings to keep the song going. And this is the melody. And like, I just think violins and string section in general is such a good way to add that energy to the song. Like, you know, it's sort of more of the old school, like classical music. Back then, obviously, you didn't have any of sort of like your really sort of low end or your rises and stuff like. So you sort of understand the importance of strings. Like, there's such a humanistic value to strings, even though these are MIDI'd in, and that can really help add development as well as, again, that consistent energy and building a song. We put this all together. This is what the chorus sounds like. go, that's a Dua Lipa song. So, the last thing I want to talk about, now you know what the song basically sounds like, is the way I've structured it. Now, I've gone for your classic intro, verse pre, chorus, verse 2, pre 2, chorus 2, and then we've got a little bridge in there, which is a little breakdown section, and then a doubled up final chorus. So you could have the vocalist doing the main chorus hook of the song, but then going into some sort of more melodic thing at the end, which is very characteristic Dua Lipa. But again, this is just about the production. So I've got an intro, which I've literally just taken the strings and the pads to sort of like add as an introduction for the whole general vibe of the song, and also taking in with that sort of whole influence of Love Again, where the intro is such a contrast to the verse, and I love that contrast. So you're going to hear what I've done with contrast here. We're going from a lot to nothing. So I've got the bass coming on a low pass. Now listen to this change up in the verse and fill. So we just got muted guitar, bass, drums. And again, what we can do to add development in the pre-chorus, add new ideas in, so the strings come back in, that familiarity and the main string hook of the song. Take the kick out, makes you realise there's something missing. But it's building, rises, and this helps the chorus hit more. There you go. That is how you make a Dua Lipa song. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and if you did, hit that subscribe button. As always, best way to support the channel. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Keep making music, and I will see you in the next video.